Welcome back to Cash and Sass, the podcast where we ditch the shame, talk real numbers, and build bold, bankable wealth without sacrificing who we are. I'm your host, Lisa Marie, fractional CFO, wealth mentor, and the sassy wealth queen behind Transcendent Wealth Co. And if you're ready to scale with strategy, own your own power, and finally feel wealthy in every sense of the word, then y'all, you're in the right place. Today's episode is one that so many women need, especially if you've been sitting on your story, your voice, and your message and not getting paid for it. Hello. My guest, Marianne Hickman, has gone from food stamps to speaking on thousands of stages around the world, and she's here to show you how your voice is not just powerful, it is profitable. We're talking visibility, confidence, and how to actually turn your message into money. And as I say, without further ado, we're just going to go right into it. You teach that your voice is a revenue stream, which I'm all for and interested. So we'll put it there. What does that actually mean for an entrepreneur?
It's really cool, especially nowadays when we're facing a lot of AI, right? We're facing a lot of AI creativity. We're facing a lot of AI threat, some people might say. There's even an AI robot that is a motivational speaker. It was pretty crazy. I saw that for the first time. And as that becomes more and more prolific, the human touch, the human voice, the human being is going to be exceptionally more and more rare and that much more valuable, not only as consumers, because you and I both know whenever we see something that was AI generated or whatever, it's off-putting. If you look at the Instagram comments like, ew, AI, whatever. And this isn't a conversation about AI, but what we're seeing, especially now, is the value of the human voice and the value of human connection. So not only is it valuable to the consumer as a sense of relief of like, wow, yeah, I'm talking to or hearing from a real person, but also it, in terms of business, is the thing that grows your business. It doesn't matter what field you're in. You could be a house painter, you could be a dog trainer, you could be a health practitioner, you could be anything in the world. But if nobody knows who you are, then no
Right.
one's going to come to your business. And that's where your
Right.
voice really comes in.
Right. I love that. And talking about it, I'm one of those ones that can't stand the automation. I want, when I call, I want a live person. So I
Uh-huh.
get that, like, like, I don't want to go through 50 buttons and 50 automated things. And then I want a person. What is the biggest mistake, though, that people make when they're trying to get visible? Because, I've caught myself too, where I'm saying I'm becoming more visible. My goals be, and I think we get in this trap.
Which one? There's so many. So here's what I see. And it comes from, we just give up too early. That could be the easiest phrase to describe everything. So when you're first starting out and you're like, oh man, yeah, I feel this kick in the chest, like I want to speak. A lot of people feel that. I want to speak. First of all, we have to check ourselves and say, is it ego driven or is it service driven? Because service driven is the only one that's going to survive long term. Ego driven implodes pretty quickly over time. When we first want to speak, we put ourselves out there and we record a live on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or wherever, and we get disheartened when zero people show up, or even worse, 2 people show up, because now they know that there's only 2 people. It's almost better when nobody shows up because nobody sees how few people were there. And we're like, oh my gosh, only 2 people were there, or only 1 person, whatever. We're judging the numbers. And therefore, we take this metric and internalize it, and we make it say, my content must not be good. My content must not be worthwhile. My voice must not matter. My message must not matter. And then we do another one. And we're like, oh man, only 2 people showed up again. See, my voice really doesn't matter. And then we just give up and they go back to the W-2, or they go back to doing whatever they were doing before they felt this urge to speak up and say something, because they got disheartened. They gave up. So when people get past that, if they do and they keep persisting, then they get to a new level, right? I book podcast guests on hundreds of shows. And we even get to the point where we're doing ads for them. And the first time you do something new, you're going to suck at it. So when you start getting booked on podcasts, you're going to get booked on podcasts that are not as visible as other podcasts. And you're going to be like, oh my gosh, nobody's seeing my show, blah, 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 blah. Well, yeah, you got to put in the reps. And then you get visible, and then you get seen more. In order for people to remark about you, you have to do something remarkable. You have to say something remarkable in order to get the comments, the views, the likes. You have to be worth remarking on. And that comes with putting the reps in. When I did my fitness competition, I did one of those things where it's not healthy, but it like aesthetically, that's what you're going for. I did a fitness competition, got on stage with a sparkly bikini and like did the posing and all that stuff. If we went to the gym once and then I got on that stage, it wouldn't really be remarkable. I had to go to the gym 2 hours a day, cut my carbs, do all of the things, you do the spray tan and eating salt backstage. That's what put me on stage when I did the fitness competition, but that's also the reps. That's what I'm saying is we all have to put in the reps.
It doesn't happen overnight.
No, not by a long shot. So the biggest mistake, in answer to your question, is we judge ourselves and we give up. And it happens at every level of business.
Mm-hmm. I want to switch a little bit because you mentioned that you were one time on food stamps, and so was I. And I've never made it a secret. It's one of the things I tell people is that, it was not something I brag about, but it was a time and it was part of the life. And can you walk us through that journey from that financial struggle to global stages? Because you're on global stages.
Well, you know what sucks about food stamp is that the program, at least in my experience, and maybe in yours too, it's not designed to get you off of it.
No, it's not.
It's by a long shot.
And I don't know about you, but I celebrated like I'd won the lottery.
Right? Same.
I celebrated like I won the lottery because no, it's not. It is not. Our system is backwards, which is another conversation for a whole nother day. But you're right. And a lot of people think it's them, but it's not built to make it easy for you to get off.
No. And it's meant to keep you in this lack of self-reliance. You are in this
dependent
victim
stage.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. This forced dependency. It's not forced. And I have to say, I was grateful for the help.
Right.
I was so grateful. It got me through a hard time, but I see people not the people that don't want to get off of it. You're not my people. You can just turn off the podcast right now.
Right.
But the people that are there with gratitude and want to make something more, this is where I want you to lean in and listen, because I was on global stages before I got off food stamps. And here's the thing. I felt a level of, you can call it imposter syndrome. You can call it.
I started making money before I got off the food stamps. And it was, I was teaching about money and I was on food stamps. It was very much a huge imposter syndrome, like I'm fake or, yes.
Yeah. And that's the thing is I didn't teach anything that I hadn't done. Right. So I was teaching on money mindset while I was on the 4th or 5th rung of the ladder of the money mindset, but I wasn't teaching how to make $1 million because I hadn't done that yet. You know? I could only teach what I knew.
Right.
And I got to tell you, I remember, so I got lots of welfare. I had welfare from the government. I had welfare from my church. And I remember pushing my little grocery cart in we call it the Bishop's Storehouse in the LDS church. And what they do is really sustainable. It's really cool is that you can come take whatever you need out of the storehouse, applesauce and grains or whatever, but they require you to put in some service. Like, hey, come next week and help package this stuff. So it's really sustainable. And I was reeling this through, and I remember like wanting to put guards around my face, hoping that no one would recognize me in the aisles there, because I was so afraid of being called a hypocrite, even though I wasn't doing necessarily anything hypocritical. But when you get on that stage and you get on that platform or you get on that podcast, there's a lot of assumptions that we make about the person who's talking. We think they have it all figured out. We think they have the perfect marriage. We think they have the dream car. We think they must have their house, dream home, or perfectly paid off or something like that. And that is rarely the case. We are all in this mission, and we're all somewhere along the way. Maybe some people are on step 100 or 200 of the ladder. Maybe some people are on step 5 or 6. But the people that I gravitate to most, I find, are willing, like you, to admit where they are. But also, and that goes both directions, admit where they are, meaning they know where they haven't been, but they also know where they have been. And that's why I want more people to get on stage, because chances are, if you're listening to this, there is stuff that you have overcome. There's stuff that you've beat. There's relationships that you've healed. Maybe you've kicked alcoholism. Maybe you've overcome a narcissistic abusive relationship. Maybe you've lost 50 pounds or 100 pounds. Maybe you financially got yourself from financial food stamps to financial freedom. You've probably done something remarkable. You just haven't talked about it enough.
Mm.
And that's what we ought to be doing. Because here's the thing. My daughter goes to work. She has 2 jobs. She's working really hard. The other day, she works at one of the fast food places in town. And the other day, someone threw a milkshake at her. Yeah, my face did the same thing. And I thought to myself, after like caring for her emotional needs and dispelling all of the anger, I thought, I wonder if the person who thought it was okay to throw a milkshake, I wonder if maybe if they had just listened to a podcast, or maybe if they had just been invited to a seminar, or maybe if they had just had one of their friends had told them, hey, I'm going to this meeting, you should come to, maybe they would have behaved differently if they had heard someone say something and they checked themselves. So the reason I'm kicking every speaker in the butt to get on stage, to grow your business into what, I don't care what your business is. I don't care what kind of coach you are. If you're trying to make people better and improve the lives, I want you to speak up so that people don't throw milkshakes and people don't honk on the freeway and people don't do crazy stuff. We need you to do this.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because it goes into my next question. When we get on stage, we're able to make an impact because we never know who we're going to reach, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how does staying invisible directly impact entrepreneurs, especially, but their income, their revenue?
I mean, the answer is almost in the question, right? If you're not visible, I mean, I'm not talking about faceless Instagram accounts or whatever. You can, there's ways to make money online where you're, hiding behind a faceless account or a mask or something. But when you show your face and you're willing to speak up, that's when, yes, you can have income, but you also have impact. I think you can have income if you never show your face online. There's so many case studies that have proven this, but you don't make a lot of impact, right? I remember I was at a real estate event of all things, and Pace Morby was on stage. He's really big in Arizona and nationwide in the real estate space, and he had a 12,000 person event. And one of my students was speaking, so I was going there to support them. But at the lunch, he did a Q&A, and I raised my hand, and I was like, Pace, you have been in the real estate space forever. Why are you doing events? This isn't a real estate event necessarily. It's called WealthCon. But the first day and a half, we are praying together. We are worshiping together. We're telling stories about family. There was one guy that told about, how he did real estate, but now it's not even about techniques in real estate. It's all about how to become a better person. What made you do this? Why did you go into events when you could have just stayed behind the scenes as a realtor all day? And he said the same thing I said earlier. He said, you can't make the impact that you want if you remain behind the scenes, if you remain invisible. He wanted to do more than just increase income. And I think he understood something that I hope everyone understands. And Jim Carrey has said things about this as well. It's come out of the mouth of so many people. If you want to become wealthy, it must be the byproduct of your influence.
Yep.
Not the main goal. Yeah, there's KPIs. Yeah, there's goals. I get that. But Zig Ziglar said it too. He said, if you want to become wealthy and affluent, you have to solve more problems.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get down there, and we can't solve problems if we don't know what they are. So as a speaker, we have to also be really good listeners. The first thing I do whenever I open an event is I ask the audience, what do you come here for? And I don't take rhetorical for an answer. I'm like, no, literally, what did you come here for? Let's measure it. And they're like, oh, freedom. I'm like, that's BS. That's potpourri. That's like, it smells great, but we don't really know what it is. What does freedom mean? Oh, you have a number. Oh, you wanted connections. What does that mean? You want to get 3 phone numbers before you leave? Let's do this. So we have to have an understanding of what our audience actually needs before we can solve the problem. One of the worst things that I hear, and it sounds really judgmental of me to say this, but I'm just going to say it. It drove me up the wall when people would ask me, let me know if there's anything I can do for you.
Yep.
Drives me crazy. We don't mean it when we say that.
I'm a mom of a special needs. My oldest is autistic, and she has a mental health disorder. Do you know how often I hear that?
Oh, man. I'm sure every day.
Can I tell you how often it feels like it is like nails against a chalkboard? Because
Ooh.
do you really want me to tell you what you can do for me? I mean,
And most
like,
of it you're not capable of doing, right?
well, and majority of the time they're not willing.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
That
say
happened
it,
to me.
but they say it, but they don't mean it.
This happened to me. I remember I was nursing my second baby and I had a really crappy breast pump. And this is the one you have to stay connected to it for like 8 hours and it pulls out 4 ounces. And those people that say don't cry over spilled milk never had to pump. Like, seriously.
Right. Thank you.
So, I had these ladies come over and they were part of my church and I felt like a number. And I don't want to sound judgmental, but this was my experience. They came over, they checked off that they had come over and they came over unannounced. And when they came in, I set my pump down. And when they left, I realized it had tipped over and it had spilled. And I just burst into tears because the last thing they said when they left was, let me know if there's anything I can do for you. And at the time, I lived on the 3rd floor of a condo. And I had a car full of groceries downstairs that I needed to bring up. And I said, yeah, actually, I could use your help bringing up groceries. And the response just, it made me so sad because they laughed and left.
Mm-hmm.
And so when
they thought you were they thought you were joking, and
they
you were
thought I was
joking.
joking.
You were dead serious.
Absolutely dead serious. So don't ask, and for speakers, pay special attention. Don't ask your audience, what can I do for you? Say, what problems are you needing solved? And don't give up. Parents, listen up. Ask, what's the biggest hurdle that you're dealing with right now? And don't let them give you this mamby-pamby potpourri answer. I don't know, things are just hard. What's hard?
What's hard?
What's difficult?
Right.
What's going on? And don't dig until you have something that you can measure and then solve for it.
So you do this every time you go on a big stage, like an in-person stage. You ask them why they're here. Okay. I like that. I like that because you're getting to, one, it's showing you care, and two, it's getting to them. It's what's what I'm looking for? It's making that connection though. And you're listening, right? You're not just asking like we're just talking about just to ask. You're not asking just to say you asked. You're actually asking so that you can hear it and then say, okay, now I can help solve this, right?
Well, yeah, and I've had times where I've thrown out all my slides and I've thrown out the planned keynote because it's not what they're asking for.
Oh, wow.
We'll do a hard pivot and be like, okay, I was going to show you this, but you don't need this, especially in my group mentoring and my one-on-one mentoring. When they come to the call and saying, oh, I really need this. I'm like, okay, slides are trash. Let's work on this. We need to solve this before we hang up.
Now, see, I've done that. Like when I have one-on-one calls with my clients, normally we're looking at the numbers and the management. And one day I could tell that there was just, she was like, I was like, what do you need today? And then I normally ask her how, and when I say how you doing, I mean it, right? And they go to do it and she goes, okay, no, never mind. And I was like, nope, we're not even talking about numbers today. We're not talking the management because it ain't going to mean hills, beans of crap if whatever is in your head right now is still in your head. And if you're feeling this and there's a mindset thing going on, then we need to work on that. And so we spent our 45 minutes working on that. And she cried at the end telling me thank you because she thought she was going to need to push it down so that we could. And I told her, I said, it affects your numbers. And we can't look at any of that unless we deal with whatever obstacle or whatever emotional thing has come up. So I love that you talk about even doing that on stage. I'm not sure how I would feel about throwing something I created and throwing it out the window and then just doing something on the fly. Being honest, that would take some practice and probably a coach standing by to calm my whole nervous system down and a quick heartbeat. But I love the way that you say that you've done that because you see that it's not what they need. So why do so many women stay hidden in their business even when they know they're meant for more? Like, I know I'm meant to be on in-person stages. I know that. Why do we tend to keep staying hidden?
It's funny. I was at a huge event. We're talking like a 15,000 person room. Is a stadium, big stadium. And this event had a bunch of big headliners on it. Gary Vee was there. David Goggins was there. And there were probably 20 to 30 recognizable names. And I'm not a feminist. I'm not a sexist. I'm an observer. And I looked at that stage and there were probably 3 women on that stage. And I asked myself, why is that? Because it's not necessarily because it's not earned. There's plenty of women out there who have the results to justify a speaking spot on a stage like that. It's not because they don't exist. And I racked my brain over it, and I've come up with a couple hypotheses. One is that there's a lot of women out there, myself included, who shift their focus inward while they're raising children. And they say, okay, it's a deliberate choice. Right now is not my outward stage time. Right now, I am nurturing my family until they move out and get on their feet or whatever milestone I set. And then I can go take care of other people. I'm doing it on purpose. I'm not there on purpose. They asked me, I said no kind of energy on purpose. Then there's the women who say, I'm intimidated by who else is out there. It's this inward limit instead of this inward freedom. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. Maybe there's too many men on the stage or whatever. And there's a tragedy unfolding because you and I, there's not a lot of, there's too few. There's too few women who are willing to take that stage and say, I will go first. I will be the example. I will be the one to lead so that every woman who is a career, a mother at the same time, has an example to follow that is done it, that is sustainable. So there's a need out there. And I think if you're turning inward on purpose, do that because that's where you're supposed to be. But if you're not going on stage because there's something in you that says, I'm not prepared enough, I don't have my offer, I don't have blah, blah, blah. If you're putting yourself down, stop it. Okay. I'm going to quote Bob Newhart, just stop it because you are so needed. You are the answer to someone's prayer and they are on their knees and you owe it to them. Viktor Frankl said this in his book, Man's Search for Meaning. Once we achieve a sense of freedom, whether it's financial freedom, personal freedom, whatever we've overcome, we also have this responsibility. In fact, he said across the United States from the Statue of Liberty should be the Statue of Responsibility, where because we have lifted ourselves out of a situation, we have an obligation to go lift somebody else. So we just need more examples. We've got Mel Robbins. She's great. We've got so many podcast hosts like you that are putting themselves out there and saying, yep, I'm a woman and here we go. And it's not gender-based. It's absolutely merit-based. But as women, just like the men need, they need someone who's in their corner and can relate to them and say, let's go. So unfortunately, the why is there's just not enough examples. And there's a few of us that just need to take the helm and go first.
Well, and that's going to lead me to my next thing because I'm guilty of this. I have said I'll start doing it when I feel more confident. And I know I'm not the only one that's done that.
You're not alone.
I'm not alone. All of us I know a lot of us have said that. What do you say to that other than just stop it?
Stop it.
Stop it.
That's the bully in me, right? Stop it.
Well, I think that's also the mother. It's like you are sabotaging yourself. Just stop it.
Right. You know, confidence. Where does confidence come from? That's really the question.
And it comes from doing it,
getting the reps in.
Right. Because I'm guilty. I mean, I'm still guilty. I've still stopped it. I'm still in some ways I'm still doing it. So I know. And when I ask it, it's well, at least the confidence comes from going out there and doing it.
Right. It is just this cruel trick that the universe plays on us. I remember when I was I felt the kick in my chest to go start speaking. And one of my mentors told me what I'm about to tell you and everyone listening that you should do. Don't wait for TED to call you from the TED stage and knock on your door and invite you to the stage. It's not going to happen. Don't wait for some big event organizer to call you and say, we need you on our stage. It's not going to happen. Start throwing your own stages. And here's what you should do. Book a stage, your own stage, create a stage every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks. Rent your local library out, do it in your living room, do a Zoom call, whatever you got to do, but start getting the reps in and own your stage and start booking something on the calendar for every 2 weeks. I did this, and the first event that I booked, I just did in my living room because the venue was free. And I put it out on Eventbrite and I invited all sorts of people. Do you know how many people came? Goose egg, 0. Nobody came. It was an empty house. My ex-husband wasn't even there. We were married at the time. Nobody came. And so I had a choice to make. I could either say, wow, nobody came, so I'm off the hook. I don't have to give my keynote. Or I could say, well, it's not going to be my fault that I didn't deliver my keynote. And that's what I did. I delivered my keynote in front of nobody. I wish I had recorded it. But I went through my entire keynote and nobody saw me mess up. Nobody saw me trip over myself. And then the next 2 weeks later, because I had booked this, I scheduled the event again. And 3 people showed up this time. It was my ex-husband at the time, we were married at the time. It was my ex-husband and then my sister-in-law who was being there supportive, and then someone that she brought. They all fell asleep. I was that boring. All of them fell asleep. You should have seen it. It was crazy. And then I did another event, and then I did another event, and that time 22 people showed up. And then I used to shoot for big numbers in a room. That used to be my measuring stick for impact, and it. I had an experience where someone on Facebook Messenger sent me a message. It was like a week and a half ago. And they said, I want to thank you for what you said at this event. I started a business because of what you said. And that, to me, as a side note, will be worth more than any college degree ever will. But the thing that really kind of concerned me is that I didn't know this person very well. And I want to. And so I don't shoot for big events necessarily anymore. I shoot for smaller events so I can get deeper impact. So when someone says thank you, I know their name and I know their face. And I'm not, it's not that I'm against serving people I don't know. I hope this podcast goes out to and helps hundreds of people that I'll never meet. But if anyone's going to write me a thank you note, I want to know who you are.
Yeah.
So the confidence, back to this, the confidence comes from getting the reps in. In order to be good at anything, you have to be willing to suck at it first. So if you want confidence, suck at it. And then suck at it again, and then suck at it again, and get a little better and get a little better. And then when the 100th time comes around, you will have the evidence you need. Your brain needs to say, I got this.
So I'm going to ask, because I'm sure other people are wondering, when you first start that, because I like the idea of doing it every 2 weeks, like just, creating your stage, the repetition. Are you doing the same keynote over and over again?
I did.
Because I want my listeners to understand that you don't have to go and create something new every 2 weeks. Because listen, my natural analytical brain would actually think I would need to. A long time ago, I would have thought that and said, oh my God, do you realize how much time I don't have to do? But honestly, that's where it would have gone. And then we wouldn't do it. And I'm sure someone is listening to this thinking the exact same thing, right? Because I'm not the only one that goes there. So the key is if you've got it, then you basically put it out there. You're hosting it you're hosting it, you put the date, then you create another event and you're having people sign up for it, whether it's in person, Zoom, whatever. And you're building that repetition.
Exactly. Those reps, that's what literally makes you stronger in your delivery. Do the same keynote. And here's the thing, and you get this, but your keynote, you're going to deliver the same keynote over and over. You know why? Because someone's going to say, when are you delivering this again? I need to bring my friend. When are you going to be speaking in it? And they want to share what they heard with their friend. So you need to deliver that same keynote. But here's the cool part. It's actually making your life easier. Because guess what? When you make the slides for your keynote, let's just say that you use slides. I don't always, but when I do, it's for the same keynote. You can take those slides, you can crop them down, and now you have social media posts. You can take those slides and your keynote transcript, and now you have your blog post. You can take your slides in your keynote, and you can visit a podcast and talk about it. You're going to be saying the same thing until you're bored with it, arguably. I hope you're not bored with what you're talking about. You should be passionate about it on some level. But you're going to be repeating yourself over and over. And listen, as parents, we get this. They only start to understand once we're sick of saying it, right? So,
and then sometimes I don't think they do.
Oh yeah. That's the first potential for it, right?
But you're going to say it over.
That's the book you're going to write. That's what your website's about. That's what your social media is about. That's what your emails are about. That's what your blog is about. That's what your YouTube channel is about. That's what your keynote is. It's all the same stuff. It's all the same stuff.
Different ways. You just keep repeating it, saying it differently.
Exactly.
know. Okay. I like that. And
Yeah.
and I think that's important to know because what you're doing, you're building it. You're building the repetition, and you're not having to go and create something new every single time. I mean, yes,
Right.
we sometimes. I know keynotes do sometimes get tweaked,
Oh, sure.
for types of stages, but we want to understand that it's still going to be the same type of keynote. How do you actually connect your story to offers and revenue?
Well, this is a really good question because I see it all too often where speakers feel the call to speak and then they get up on stage and they start trauma dumping, and at the end of the keynote, the audience feels sorry for the speaker. And that's the last thing that you want as a speaker and an entrepreneur is that someone feels sorry for you or they buy because they feel sorry for you. That is not a strong position. It's not a leadership position. You don't want that. So while there's lots of stories and stories are really important, there's this duality about it. Nobody cares about your story unless your story can change their story. And here's what I mean by that. When I talk about being on food stamps and then going to speak on stages, what people hear is, okay, maybe I'm on food stamps, maybe I'm not, but if she can do it, I can.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a better position than she was to start with. And if she can teach me what she did, and this is the formula, right? Once I have this whole diagram for delivering a keynote, it looks like an EKG with all of these charts and symbols. But the story or the introduction to your keynote starts with introducing yourself and asking the audience what they need, getting these enrolling questions, getting them moving. And then we're going to go tell our story. And if we're going to go deep, this is when it happens, right? Not every keynote needs to have a cry part, but if it does, this is when it happens. I'm going to tell my story. I'm going to bring them down with me. And the goal is to go to the bottom of everyone's experience in the room and bring them up together.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go tell the crappy part. By the way, I don't tell stories that haven't healed yet.
Right. Yeah, never.
That's trauma dumping. So I'm going to go tell my story and say, this is where I was. I was crying on my bedroom floor because we were so far in debt. And my prayer to God to get out of it was, you better drop a box of $100,000 on my front doorstep, or you better introduce me to someone who can, because I don't know what else to do. And people relate to that. How many of you have said a prayer of finances before? Even if you're not religious, it's that level of desperation.
Mm-hmm.
And after that happened, I checked my front doorstep and nothing showed up. But I did go to an event and I met someone who could show me how to get out of this. And then I teach the audience exactly how I got out of it. Here's the 3 most important things that I did to go from where I was in this really crappy situation in my story to where I am today. And these are the 3 things I'm going to keep doing to keep leveling up. Let's do them right now. So I use the story as leverage. It is the place for, this is where I started, and it's useless. Hear me here. Listen, the story is useless unless we teach people how to get out of it, and not just in theory, in practicum before the event's over, before you're off stage, something that you can do. As specific as we were about asking, what do you need? I'm going to get that specific about the action step. So you're going to do something different before I'm done speaking.
I love that. What separates someone who is visible but struggling from someone who is visible and profitable?
Well, there's some technical to that.
Okay.
Right? As first is the confidence, just like you were saying on your call with your client. The numbers don't matter unless we've got this mindset thing figured out, at least to a certain level, right? Not that we're ever done with that.
Right.
But so
listen, did y'all hear that? We are never done. I need that recorded because I say that all the time.
Oh man, I can't tell you how many coaches I've talked to that are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm struggling with this. I teach this stuff. We're going to. So get your mindset good for the day, or good for the minute, and then implement the tool. So here's the tool part of it. Okay, talk to Lisa Marie if you need some more mindset stuff. But here's the tool part of it, all right? In order for us to convert our keynote or our words into actual revenue, there's a very specific step-by-step process called the client journey. Mm-hmm. And in order for us to have profits, the client has to have a pathway to get there. And I remember sitting in a room, we were in Fort Lauderdale, and there was a room of 300 speakers. And the head speaker who was teaching the speakers up at the front of the room said, "How many of you want to sell me a product?" And the entire room raised their hand. Duh. Everyone wants more revenue, right? So then he followed it up with, "How many of you," if I pulled out my credit card, and he held up his credit card, he said, "How many of you, if I were able to give you my credit card, could charge me for a $500 product right now on your phone, right now, point of sale?" And 6 people raised their hand out of 300, 2% of the room. Isn't it crazy how all of us want more revenue, but so few of us have a pathway to do it?
Mm.
So in order to translate here's the client journey. Here's what we need to do. First of all, we need to understand who our client is and what their problem is. And not in general potpourri terms. If you think you serve everyone, no one can hear you, okay? Understand who your client is and what they complain about to their best friend at 2 a.m. That's what we need to talk about. Then solve it. Solve it for free. And trust me, it'll lead to profits and revenue, but we have to be giving first. Solve it for free. Write a book about it. Not a big long one. I'm talking like 12 pages. Write a little ebook on solving that problem. My people love to get on stages. We want to get on more stages. So I created a podcast database that has over 1,000 shows that people can go and they can go apply to podcasts. I solved that problem of getting more stages. And then the next problem comes up. So you speak, and then you give something away for free. But in exchange, you're going to get their contact information, their name, phone, and email. And your free stuff has to be so juicy that they're actually excited to open your emails. They look for them. They file them differently. Not some spam AI crap that's prolific out in the email world. You want to give something away that they're excited to go open. Then once you give that away, you learn more about your client and say, okay, what do they need next? What do they need next? And then you put them through what I call a launch sequence of launching whatever your product is, right? And ideally, coaches, we should have a $3,000 core offer product, something that is more valuable than $3,000, that is priced at $3,000. And you can have smaller products, that's fine. You can have bigger products, but your core offer around $3,000. So then when you have your free giveaway and then you launch your $3,000 product to them, there's a whole launch sequence. And Jeff Walker put this together. So go get his book called Launch by Jeff Walker. I've had him on my show twice because he's so cool. You put them through the launch sequence, and the launch sequence basically interviews them. It teases the product. You give the product a launch date. You have that open cart for about a week, and then you finish up. And then you're going to serve the client and retain the client. If they don't buy, you still serve the client, nurture the client, retain the client. And once you finish that launch sequence, you have a slew of buyers that you fulfill on. And then you launch again and you launch again. You might do 2 or 3 launches a year, depending on your product. And I know I'm oversimplifying it, but I want you to have the complete A to Z steps. It's speak, free giveaway, launch a product, and continue to serve. That's the basic 4 steps of it right there. And yes, there's lots of pieces like your CRM and your point of sale and all of those pieces. They don't matter unless you have that sequence down.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I have this part. This is the very last thing, is where I want the listener to do it, to have a takeaway. And the takeaway that we talked about the shifting from the stop hiding to start showing up. So we're not going to do that one because that was the repetition part. I broke that down. I think the one I want to do is what is a step? So a takeaway, a step that they can do, one move to turn visibility into a wealth building strategy.
The single most important move. Wow. How do you boil it down to a single most important move? Well, you have to have an offer. If you don't, are we assuming we have an offer? Because if you don't have an offer, there's no way to convert.
We're assuming we have an offer. Because I mean, most of these people, most of them, like me. I mean, I'm 10 years in. If I don't have an offer, I don't know how I have a business, right?
Nope, you don't.
I have a couple. I mean, I have a couple offers. So assuming they have an offer, what's one move that they can take to start that? I don't know. I guess besides getting them out of their way, but move that they can do to turn the visibility into a wealth building strategy.
The gap between visibility and wealth is service. It's really giving valuable things away for free, right? I cannot tell you how many pieces of content I've consumed on Instagram and how many ebooks I've actually downloaded and really read, and how many podcasts I've listened to that I just soak it all in. And I want you to think of it like the samples at Costco, right? We all know the samples at Costco. They're great lunch, right? So when we go through Costco and we get the sample, let's just say that they're sampling chicken noodle soup. They're not just giving you the noodles. They're not just giving you the carrots. They're not just giving you the broth. They're not just giving you the peas. They're not giving you a piece of the formula. They're giving you a small sample of the entire formula. And when you do your free giveaway, when you give away stuff online, when you give away stuff in your emails, when you give away stuff from stage, give them the entire formula in that small size that we can digest as an audience member right there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have an offer, condense it down into something that will solve a problem for someone that day. So here's what I tell my clients. So when I speak online and I speak on stages, whenever I do this, again, the best part of my audience, the best thing I can understand from them is they want more stages. Now, that's not going to solve all their problems, but that's what they want right then. So again, that's why I give away.
Well, that was
podcast.
the first thing I said to you, right? I want
right?
more. I want to get on more stages.
Right. So I give away the podcast database, but let me give you something else that's really, really cool that you can do. If you're listening to this podcast, I want you to pause and do this, unless you're driving, because that's not safe. So,
Yeah, please
but
don't
pause and do
this.
this. I listen to podcasts in the sauna, so you can do this pretty much unless you're driving. So I want you to go, if you're a speaker and you want to get on more stages, you're a business owner. Maybe you don't consider yourself a speaker yet, but you own a business and you want to get more people into that business, which most business owners do. I want you to go to Google and I want you to type in 2026 call for speakers and then name your industry. 2026 call for speakers, women's health. 2026 call for speakers, chiropractors. 2026 call for speakers, dyslexic achievers. And you're going to find, most people don't know this, it's so simple. You're going to find a Google result with a list of stages that are now currently accepting applications. And you can go submit your application.
Even for, say, for example, fractional CFOs or money mentors okay, I'm going to have to try that.
Try it. Type it in. 2026 call for speakers, CFO. 2026 call for speakers, financial industry, women in finance. I'm sure you could look at the same gift you have from multiple different angles and see the different facets of it, right?
Right.
And change the keywords a little bit. But you're going to find, I'm getting goosebumps because I've seen this work so many times. And you just submit applications and then take it a step further and do a little bit of research on the website. Find the email of the person who's actually accepting applications and say, hey, I just submitted an application. Here's my speaker reel. Or find the address and send a box of chocolates or something really cool. Hey, I just submitted this. I hope to get to know you better. I'm Lisa Marie. I'm here from, and just make yourself stand out a little bit. But even I have a friend who speaks and she makes about $500,000 a year just from speaker fees. And it comes to her because her husband is doing 100 of these a week. Just 100 submissions until the referrals replace that.
Right. Because the goal is eventually for the referrals to replace that. But again, you have to do the repetition until you can start getting referred.
Yep. Exactly.
See, I even listen, y'all.
So I know it sounds counterintuitive, but the fastest way to revenue, assuming you have an offer, is to give it away.
Yeah. And that makes sense. And I want people to understand that I think it's important to have multiple streams of revenue, because of the world we live in and all the things. And I've always had just one-on-one. And then when my business took a hit, because that's when I realized, okay, I basically crippled myself because I only did one-on-ones. And now in the past, 6 months or so, we've been gradually changing things up. And I've always wanted to be a speaker. So I'm like, okay, what are ways to have multiple streams of revenue coming in that's not dependent on just one? Because if you're dependent on just one and something happens to that one,
which it will, guaranteed.
Yes, ma'am, it will. Mine didn't happen until I was 9 years, eight started happening on the 8th year, and then it kept going into last year. So I just celebrated 9 years. So I'm entered into my 10th year. And so mine happened in year 8 and 9. So please don't say it won't happen, because it will. It did. It will. It has. And so I think it's really important for us to look at, how do we have the long-term sustainable growth. And I think speaking is something that will be there, because, again, like you said, it's human connection. And, that's something I've added to my thing. I've always wanted to do it. So it's added. It's part of my streams that I've added. Okay, I want this stream, right? And so I think it's just really important for us to take an honest look at that. And you got to hear what you might be doing to sabotage yourself by being hidden, and what you can do to get out of it. And I think that that's really, really cool. And if I think that's a takeaway that's just really important. And I'm gonna also say that if this conversation has hit you, and if you've been playing small, hiding, or not fully stepping out into your power, we need to talk about what's really going on underneath, because it might not just be your visibility. It could also be money patterns. I've seen it way too many times. I want you to go sign up for my free 7 Money Pitfalls email series, so that you can start identifying exactly what's keeping you from making, managing, and multiplying your money the way you're capable of, so that you have that long-term sustainable growth. The link is in the show notes. And y'all, until next time, remember, as I always say over and over and over again, confidence and cash are the ultimate power duo. Go check in with your money. And as always, have a fantastic and wealthy day. Bye.